different distribution of plant species within this area. If you watch by my left, you can see with me there's a plant species here that has a very straight bold, has a triangular buttress, and is scientifically known as a Clinozodal gabonensis. It's a plant species that have there's a good timber product that can be sown and be marketed. Most times, other economic values that can be attached to it is that it's being used as railway surplus in West African countries. And the routing itself is a very unique feature that you can see that more wildlife species can use them as habitat, because they help in stopping the visibility of hunters from getting them at certain points. So that feature you are seeing is a very unique characteristics. And the feature also, the nature of the routing also help us to identify them in terms of giving them different nomenclatures if you are coming into the field.
Our adventure of the park started from the Okwango division, which has about 1,545 documented species of plants in 98 families, some of which are extremely rare. The division is also home to the Cross River gorilla, as well as 17 other primates. Traversing the entire green landscape afforded us the opportunity to appreciate the endowment. From the various species of plants that were encountered in the course of our exploration of the park to the various rock formations, as well as the vintage tropical rainforest ecosystem. In order to further enrich the fauna species of the park, there is the ongoing process of further release of some primate species into the wild.
We are relooking to home a lot of our monkeys to release them into the wild, and our former director Isabel Thace contacted Mr. Colo of the National Parks, and they set up an arrangement for us to release the monkeys who currently live in a center in Calabar here in the National Park.
So we're releasing 3 species of primate, the red-capped mangabey, the putty-nosed guenon, and the Mona monkey. Right here at Enclosure 1, we have one group of putty-nosed guenon and one group of Mona monkey. And in hopefully the next few weeks, we'll probably begin the release for one of the groups, and then possibly a week after that, we will start the release for the other group.
The initiative is a fallout of the completion of the rehabilitation of some endangered species peculiar to the Cross River axis.
We have a lot of interesting tourist sites. We are also in collaboration with some NGOs, Secopan, that we are introducing some primates, three species of primates: the Mona monkey, the red-capped mangabey, and the putty-nose.
The project is going well so far. All primate release and rehabilitation programs are slow. Primates are very smart animals and they adapt to change very slowly. So we're taking our time, making sure that we can monitor the monkeys very well and making sure that they will be okay once they are released.
For the coordinator of the project, the process will not only ensure that the primates are returned to their natural habitat, but will also ensure that they are safe within the new environment.
In Calabar, we've rehabilitated them. We've cared for them, put them into stable social groups, and now we are starting their journey back home. So While they're here, we feed them similar diet to what we fed them in Calabar, but then we add to that bush fruits so that they can start to get used to eating what they're meant to eat in the wild. And after we feel that they have fully become acclimated, they're calm, they're socially stable, that's when we begin the actual release.
For lovers of nature, one of the unique selling points of the park is the location of the magnificent Kwa Falls within the vicinity of the park.
This is Kwa Falls. As you can see, it's a heavy water body cascading down the rocks. It flows from the Kwa Falls, the Kwa River, which is one of the water bodies in the park that crisscross the park. Of course, you must have been told that one of the things the national park does, protecting these very important ecosystem, is that the ecosystem serves as watershed. So this is an important water body that is being protected by the Cross River National Park. And so, of course, needless to say what water does to humanity. So it is the protection of this very vital resource base that the national park can proudly justify one of the reasons it is established.
Located in Anegeje village, about 25 kilometers from the city of Calabar, Kwa Falls is an area of outstanding natural beauty. The falls are at the headwaters of the great river Kwa, cutting through a steep and narrow gorge surrounded by tropical mangrove forest made up of mahogany, ebony, and spruce trees, supporting a vast array of wildlife. The beauty and soothing effect of the fall will always keep visitors fascinated and yearning for more any day. The Great Kwa River originates in the park Urban Hills, where it flows southwards, draining the east coast of Calabar, ending up at the Cross River estuary. The surrounding forest is a fantastic spot for spotting monkeys in their natural habitat. A staircase of 234 steps from the plain down to the resting place of the water characterizes the falls. The excitement and exercise offered by the staircase is like an added value for every visitor. That the park is a repository of nature's endowment is further accentuated by the prevalence of wide range of hills stretching far into the Cameroons.
This stretch of rolling hills you see behind me are the Urban Hills. They are right at the heart of the park and stretches all the way to the Bamenda Plateaus in the Republic of Cameroon. They provide excellent habitat for most of the wildlife species in the park, including the Nigeria-Cameroon chimpanzee. They also provide watershed protection for most of the streams and rivers that cross the park. We also intend to develop this eco attraction for hiking and mountaineering for the delight of our tourists.
The Urban Hills are indeed a unique selling point for the park. Exploring the whole range of hills spanning hundreds of kilometers will always reveal the treasure Cross River State and the nation is indeed endowed with. The beauty of the whole expanse of land is further accentuated by the presence of several rivers and streams.
This is one of the streams that traverses the park. This stream is called Erokut. And as you can see, it is very pure. Even the leaves that fall on it, some of the leaves have medicinal values, some of them have purification values. And so they help to make the stream very pure and safe for drinking. Rangers, while on patrol, and even the wildlife, can drink it and feel safe.
Our surgeon also led us to one of such streams, and the experience was quite fulfilling.
We are at Ikpan River, one of the many water bodies that crisscross the Cross River National Park. This particular location is Osomba village. This location is closer to the urban hills that you have seen. Urban hills is made of so many ranges. The location here is close to one of the ranges. Of course, we did say that Urban Hills stretches from Urban Town to the Cameroons, over 60 kilometers of this very romantic hill.
Maintaining 4,000 square kilometers of the land and protecting the rich treasure contained within the whole expanse of the park is indeed quite arduous.
Apart from the ranger unit, that the enforcement unit of the park, as we talk now, in Cross River National Park, we have about 320 enforcement rangers that on a daily basis try to patrol the boundaries and even the interior of the park to checkmate illegal activities such as logging, poaching, poisoning of streams, and other illegal activities.
Thus, the Nigerian park system had ensured the preservation of this treasure that the park represents.
The department is structured in such a way that we also have sectors, we have ranges around the national park, around the Cross River is 7 national park in the 2 sectors. So these sectors supervise the work of the ranges and then feedback the head office at Akankpa, thereby making the management easy. And then at the departmental level, the management meets to decide and discuss how management will be made easy to ensure that the 4,000 square kilometer is properly managed.
The fauna species of the park, which is very rich, with many of the species endemic to the area. In fact, 18 out of the 23 primate species in Nigeria are located in the park. It is therefore not surprising that the park has always been a destination of choice for different categories of visitors, from tourists to researchers to interns from universities across the nation.
You are now in Erokut tourist camp. This is one of the park entry gate and a tourist camp for our visitors. Here we have a park ranger force of about 16 rangers who are engaged in active anti-poaching patrols. We also have a student hostel because the park itself is a natural laboratory. We have students coming from all over Nigeria for industrial attachment, for practical experiences, and even for research. We also have researchers coming all over, both within and outside the country, to conduct research within Cross River National Park.
One of the main reasons why we are here is to gain practical knowledge of all the things we've been taught right from our year 1 to the 300 level, and also to learn how to relate with the natural forest, and also learn how to make a research and analysis of all that has to do with all that we've been taught in the classroom.
The richness of Cross Rivers Park is really irresistible. For the purpose of making the stay of visitors pleasurable, an arboretum, a picnic garden, modest accommodation, as well as a network of nature's trails has been added to the landscape of the park. Hostel accommodation is also provided for students who are expected to stay long on the facility for possible research. The full complement of armed rangers and interpreters are also on hand to provide the necessary guide for tourists.
Go. We have over 105 communities around the park. These 105 communities around the park are serious challenge because there is this demand for farming, demand for bushmeat, and also the population around the community is also expanding, and that is giving serious challenge to the management. So therefore, the need for the management to collaborate and ensure that the community supports the activity of the park. And that's why we have these ranges within these communities, the support zone communities.
What we do is that when we have visitors, the local people provide porters. Some of us come from this area. We are employed and we ensure that our people are also involved in the activities that take place in the national park. They provide porters, they provide guards, they provide the local cuisines, they provide the art and crafts that most visitors buy. Besides, we encourage the local people to provide some of the cultural dances that herald the visitors to the park. So if you look at it, both the people, the cultural attributes, and the environment which we protect come together in ecotourism.
That the Cross River National Park is the pride of Nigeria is certainly not in doubt. With its varieties of natural endowments, thus, any trip to Cross River State any day without a taste of what the park represents and has to offer will surely be an incomplete trip. Make a trip to Cross River National Park today.
We want to talk about rights, there are obligations. I'm not saying that this government is a saint, it's very far from it. But there are things that we can do to make it better, and that's the challenge I'm throwing to you. You don't want to build this nation? I don't know where else you want to go. If I had a choice, I'll come back. When I stand outside and I hear what you have to say about this country that I know that I can die for as one, then I'm really sad because you're young. You have education. You have tools. You have a huge future ahead of you. And you're condemning yourself before you started on that journey. So please don't do that. Please don't.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative, and interactive on national issues, accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
This vaccine is safe and it has been certified safe and usable by NAFTA.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Talking Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder.
No.
Stop it! Welcoming you to your weekend for today.
Arise, oh compatriots. It's time to use our voice.
Beyond Six Packs.
Bills.
Pay the bills. Keep paying the telephone bills. Pay my bills.
Welcome to Gallery.
Me and my paddies.
London for what?
London for medicine.
Medicine for what?
Medicine for coffee.
Are you sickness?
To our illness. Welcome to Gist Zone.
Alright, my name is the Eselucien Wego One. Ona nyokoko nyonyo.
For anyone who values financial security and ultimately desires financial freedom, creating at least one additional stream is no longer a luxury, it has become a necessity. Diversifying your income stream is crucial to protect yourself and your family against the unavoidable ups and downs of economic and industry cycles. Because of the financial risk that come from relying on one source of income, such as a job or a business, consider creating at least one or more additional streams to generate cash flow. The benefits of having multiple streams of income include peace of mind, because you know there will always be money to spend. Also, you will earn much more than you currently earn from your day's job. Therefore, you will live bigger and better. Your additional income streams can be active, passive, or a combination of the two. Some may pay you for doing something that you love, active, while others can provide income for you without having to do much of anything at all, passive. Here are multiple streams of income opportunities: selling information in hard book format, selling information in the form of downloadable ebooks, making money from referral opportunities, training classes, consulting opportunities, dealership opportunities, design opportunities, manufacturing opportunities, investment opportunities. The list is definitely not exhaustible. To create wealth, you must make investment that will create dependable streams of income flows, independent of your main source of income. The time to act is now. Begin implementing this practice, and before you know it, within months, you can be enjoying the benefits and the financial security and freedom that comes from having multiple streams of income.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Oshibajo laments falling standards of legal education in Nigeria.
The problems we see in our courtrooms today, unfortunately, are those that emanate from inadequate or defective legal training.
President Buhari didn't cancel Zamfara trip because of insecurity, presidency reemphasizes. Good morning, Nigeria. Today we shall discuss ease of doing business.
Nigeria has been moving up the ladder on the World Index of Ease of Doing Business ranking from the 144th position in 2019. The country moved to 131st position in 2020 among 190 economies.
Of course, Nigeria had its best ranking of 120 in 2008 before plummeting to the 169th position in 2014. No doubt there have been consecutive improvements in the country's ease of doing business ratings over the past 6 years, as Nigeria eventually moved from 169 in 2014 to an appreciable figure in 2015, and has since been on the upward trajectory on the World Index.
Now, the Ease of Doing Business Index usually measures the regulations that improve business activities and those that constrain the ease of doing business in different countries.
Now, some of the areas of business regulation assessed include starting a business, dealing with construction permits, getting electricity, registering property, getting credit, protecting minority investors, payment of taxes, and trade across borders, as well as other considerations.
The establishment of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, headed by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, has helped over time to minimize the constraints that come with running businesses in the country through policies and executive orders that enhance the ease of doing business in Nigeria.
Now, while Nigeria is celebrating relative progress in the global ease of doing business ranking, 18 African countries are ahead on the world ranking, and such countries include South Africa, which is ranked 86, Rwanda is 38, Botswana 87, and Togo is 97. Now, that speaks to the fact that a lot more still needs to be done to shore up Nigeria's ease of doing business rating.
And of course, issues of insecurity, corruption, low financial literacy, electricity supply, and infrastructure deficits still pose major challenges to businesses in Nigeria, and they form part of the considerations of international investors who are eager to do business in the country.
Now, questions to ask will be whether Nigeria's progress in the Global Ease of Doing Business Index is reflecting on the domestic environment. Is there also a correlation between the ease of doing business and the volume of foreign direct investments in the country? And what more can be done to ramp up the ease of doing business ranking in Nigeria?
These are part of issues we shall take on with our guests as we discuss ease of doing business on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Welcome to the program. I am Jumai Yusuf.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I also join my colleague Jumai to welcome you to the program of the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. In the course of the program, we have our regular complimentary segments, and these include newspaper review and business. For now, here is leader Odije Ochi, who has the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, leader.
Good morning, Kingsley and Jumai. Here is the morning news. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has added his voice to the call by some Nigerians for the scrapping of residential training in law school and allowing law graduates to register online for bar examination with provision of online resources for training, mock trials, and appearances in court. The Vice President also advised members of the body of the Senior Advocates of Nigeria to take the lead in championing the reform in the justice sector.
Still on the issue of legal education, how can BOSAN help in stemming the falling standards in the quality of legal education, which ultimately translates into dramatic decline in the standard of legal practice? While the Nigerian Bar Association is conscientiously advocating and supporting continuous legal education for legal practitioners, the problems we see in our courtrooms today, unfortunately, are those that emanate from inadequate or defective legal training.
The presidency has given further clarification on the circumstances that led to the cancellation of President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to Zamfara State last week. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, is quite categorical that bad weather was solely responsible for the cancellation. He said it is not unusual for flights to get cancelled when there is bad weather, whether it is arising from wind or rainstorm, fog or haze. The presidency therefore wonders why the People's Democratic Party, PDP, will glorify petty issues and even accuse the president of not proceeding to Gusau by road. The opposition party, it said, ought to know that commanders-in-chief serving or even those that have left office cannot hop into a car and go anywhere they want at any time of the day. Garba Shehu assures that, as the president promised in his broadcast, his visit to Gusau is only a matter of time. The federal government says it is increasing interventions and funding towards reversing Nigeria's high rate of tropical diseases. Minister of State for Health Olorunimbe Mamora made this known at a ministerial media briefing to commemorate the 2022 World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day in Nigeria.
We must focus more on how we mobilize domestic resources to really key into the Kigali Declaration in terms of ending this decade.
Zamfara State government has temporarily converted all the boarding primary and post-primary schools in the state to day schools as part of new measures to ensure safety of students and teachers. The State Commissioner for Information, Ibrahim Dusara, announced this while giving an update on the recent reopening of the schools after their prolonged closure.
Community school security committees were set up in each of the schools, where parents and the school officials are putting heads together to ensure the security of lives of the students.
Nigerians have been urged to live peacefully with one another, irrespective of their ethno-religious background, for socio-economic development of the country. Yobe State government and the leadership of Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, stated this while debunking fake news suggesting that the state is experiencing violent crisis.
Yobe is peaceful, and Christians in Yobe have never had it like this one before, where the governor is running an inclusive government.
Well, the general situation of Christian community in Yobe State right now at the moment, I can say we are peaceful and we're enjoying the relative peace that God has given us through the government.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Jumai after this break. Good morning.
The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the state.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards.
Shola, come and help me. You need to learn.
But I'm more interested in drawing.
How are you going to be part of the business if you don't learn?
You just don't understand.
Morning. Anyone for some Lipton?
The rich taste of Lipton awakens body and mind.
Let me have a look at your drawings. Son, these designs are amazing.
Lipton Yellow Label Tea. Awaken to what really matters.
When times are tough, we know that as a mother, one thing you should never compromise on is your family's oral health, because they deserve the best. Oral-B, all-round protection. Its great value, it protects your mouth from harmful bacteria and also protects you against tooth holes and gum problems which can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your family's teeth and gives them all-round protection. So remember, protect their future. Oral-B for healthier, stronger teeth in just 1 week.
To the right.
Bila, you go to the left.
Yes, I do it.
Thank you for the rejections. That taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours. That taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns. That taught me to bounce back. And for the unexpected victories, that taught me to never give up.
Please welcome Dr. Shiksi.
Thank you for making me who I am.
Every Harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apple. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during Harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Contemporary times require practical skills to remain competitive and relevant in your organization. Therefore, take advantage of NTA TV College Short Proficiency courses to sharpen your professional skills. Computer Appreciation for Media Practitioners. Date 21st February to 28th February 2022. 1 week. English Grammar and Pronunciation for Broadcasters. Date 1st March to 25th March. 4 weeks. Administrative Principles, Processes and Practices. Date 11th March to 31st March 2022. 4 weeks. Modern Trends in Broadcast Media Marketing. Date 14th March to 13th April 2022. 4 weeks. Basic Broadcast Accounting and Auditing. Date 4th April to 19th April 2022. 2 weeks. The course fee for the 1 week course is 100,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2 week course is 150,000 naira, while the course fee for the 4 week course is 180,000 naira only, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the Serene and 06-980-9807. NTA TV College, training you to be the best you want to be.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the Africa's largest TV network. Next is newspaper business news with Kunle Adeye.
Having facilitated 858,000
843 transactions in 2021, the Nigeria Customs Service is now saying it will scale up digital transformation and improve its data ecosystem to achieve better fit in 2022. Comptroller General of the service, Amid Ali, has remarked that major reforms in the service are enough motivations that will assist in achieving the targets.
We are today, by virtue of what we collect, a major contributor to the economic development of this country. Secondly, you cannot do trade facilitation without generating revenue. And therefore, the two are intertwined. And we read them this way: trade facilitation, revenue generation, and protection of the society. That is the mandate given to us. Each one of these three is very important to Nigerian Customs Service.
The service disclosed it has come up with better strategies to combat smuggling. The federal government has given customs a target of 3.1 trillion naira for the year. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Thank you very much, Kunle, for the business package. Coming up next is newspaper review.
And our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Toby, is in the studio. Good morning, Bayo.
Thank you, Juma. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley.
Hi, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Yes,
Thank you.
good morning. Yes. Let's begin by taking a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper is pretty busy. So above the name flag, you have the following headlines. Bank customers transferred 278 trillion naira via e-channels in 2021. Bank customers transferred 278 trillion naira via e-channels in 2021. And that's according to the NIBBS report. The details of that story you can find on page 32. Below that, you have the following. Federal government must justify fresh 3 trillion naira vote and others for fuel subsidy, according to the Senate. Presidency, APC in dilemma over zoning may throw race open. Refineries rehabilitation gulped 100 billion naira in 2021, says NNPC. Transport fares jumped by 283% amid rising fuel subsidy. This is attributed to NBS. This NBS is the Bureau of Statistics. NCAA to hike airlines operating license fee, plans major review. And then the lead story says 24 gunned down as killings rise in Kaduna and Niger attacks. 11 killed, others injured, 30 houses burnt as gunmen invade southern Kaduna village. Residents knock government over troops withdrawal as terrorists kills cause in Niger. You can see the photographs there on the front page. The photographs are credited to the Nigerian Army with the caption, troops of 25 Task Force Brigade Damboa in conjunction with members of civilian JTF during the clearance operation at Bala Maduri. This was in Borno State. You are a champion. Come work with us, Lawan tells Akwa Ibom governor. And 104,403 northerners and 23,088 southerners apply for police recruitment. Details on page 4. Yaris Group member gives 120 students scholarships to Togo University. Suspended Kano Anti-Graft Agency boss dumps APC for PDP. NDLEA seizes 48,000 tramadol tablets and 22 UK, France, and Portugal passports. Oshibajo visits Katsina, restates federal government's commitment to crush terrorism.
Yeah, let's get the Nation newspaper. And above the masthead, we have post-primary crisis rock APC, PDP in Ekiti. With rider decision on petitions today. Oni slams Ayu fire shade. How CBN is battling rise in food prices by MFLA. You find details on page 7. GAC, we have not decided to replace Shanwo-Lu. You find all that on page 7. Just below the masthead, IMF cautions government on $3.4 billion facility. Details on page 5. Ngige weighs options on presidential bid. You find that on page 5. Tax returns, FIRS begins probe of big companies. You find the details on page 6. And the picture story you see there, All Progressives Congress APC stalwart Asiwaju Bola Tinubu second left, with members of APC in the diaspora and Nigeria diaspora for Asiwaju, Mr. Lanre Adegun, Chief Oladapo Habib, and Mr. J.K. Adebola at a meeting in London, United Kingdom, yesterday. And the headlines from the nation's newspaper: governors lead opposition to reworked electoral bill, with riders, resignation before primaries unworkable, consensus clauses in contention. Lobby begins to stop presidential assent as Buhari gets bill today. And just like my colleague Kingsley read from the paper he read, one of the houses and vehicles burned during the attack on Galadima Kogo, Shiroro local government area in Niger State over the weekend. 29 killed in Niger-Kaduna gunmen attack. You find details on page 7. At the bottom plate of the Nation newspaper, Ganduje presents staff of office to Emir of Gaya. You find details on page 8. Gunmen kill soldier. That's on page 4. Bye.
Thank you, Jume. Let's start with the story about the refinery. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, says it spent 100 billion on rehabilitation of refineries in 2021. This was contained in a fund performance report of the company, which indicated that funds were pumped into the facility on a monthly basis. It may be recalled that the Federal Executive Council approved a contract for the Port Harcourt refinery on 17th of March 2021. The contract was signed on 6th of April. In August last year, 1.48 billion was approved for rehabilitation of both Warri and Kaduna refineries too. They are to be rehabilitated in 3 phases. The one for 21 months, the other for 23 months, and the third for 33 months. The report of killings, 24 persons killed in Zamandabo village in Zango Kataf local government area, and also Galadima Kogo in Niger State. Just only last week, Kaduna State government had, at a meeting with traditional rulers, religious and community leaders at Kauru and Zango Kataf, had told them that about 387 persons have been killed, have lost their lives in the period of 2 years. This was at a meeting which was summoned by the, presided over by the Commissioner for Internal Security, Samuel Arua, at which he was appealing to the leaders of the Atiap, Fulani, Chawai, and Irigwe communities. And they all pledged that they will live in peace. And it's strange to hear that just hardly 5 days later, we're now hearing of killings there. And with Niger State too, the danger here is that there's another dimension, which is youth restiveness, which has been reported, especially in some urban areas in Minna Town. Young people have gathered themselves into what has been described as terror groups. They fight one another and they operate within the suburbs of Minna, especially in areas around Ungwandaji, Limawa, Ogumasho Road, Duse, Nkura, Gwari, and Pagunku area. And so brazenly, sometimes it happens even at opposite the office of the area command of the police. The latest clash between some of the youths led to the death of a policeman and also a businessman, Ifeanyi Okunwa, who everybody described as a gentleman who was stabbed in the stomach and he died. The Niger State Police Command say so far about 53 persons have been arrested. They are looking for about 60 persons. They've got 53 of them. A joint task force of the police, the military, the Department of State Services, and the Nigeria Civil and Defense Corps are combing the suburbs of Mindanao to tame these wild boys who are terrorizing the citizens of Niger State. The other interesting story is the ongoing African Cup of Nations. The quarterfinals ended yesterday, and in the match between Senegal and Equatorial Guinea, Senegal won by 3-1, while Egypt came from 1-0 down to beat Morocco 2-1. So we are now in the semi-final stage. And the semi-final will see Senegal take on Burkina Faso at Amadou Hidjo Stadium. That will be on February 3rd, while the host Cameroon will be playing Egypt also at Olembe Stadium in Yaoundé.
All right, Bayo, there are two stories, if not three, of interest. One, it's here on the front page of the Punch newspaper, and it says 104,403 Northerners, 23,088 Southerners apply for police recruitment. Now, the story had been trending for a while as to the few number of Southerners who are applying for recruitment into the police force. Now, on the one hand, it's a story that can elicit laughter, even scorn, to say, oh, Southerners are not applying to join the police force. But I think that it speaks to perhaps a more fundamental, if not serious issue that should warrant further interest by the authorities. If Southerners are not interested in joining the police force, why? If Northerners are more interested in joining the police force, why? And assuming, because if you look at these numbers, this is 104,000 to about 23,000, you can see the disproportion. At the end of the day, when recruitment is being done, what will be the criteria? Is there going to be federal character or affirmative action to say from each state you cannot have more than so many persons being recruited into the police force? Because sometimes, again, I'm sure you have also seen those figures bandied around in news reports or social media about how admissions into federal colleges of unity, that's to say federal unity schools, that's right, where scores are low in some parts of the country, and yet they get admitted because you want to balance out, you want to achieve the purpose for which those unity schools were set up. So if you have 104,000 and 23,000 in that kind of disparity, what are the factors? Are they running away from something? Is there some disinterest? Can you incentivize them to join? Because it is not sufficient to say, hey, they're not interested, so let them go.
Well, it's a difficult thing, but if you have to follow the federal character principle, ideally what ought to be done is that you need to take census of the population and distribution of the police on a state-to-state basis. Then you will know which state has its quota almost filled, then which state has a deficiency by way of numbers, and then you fill them in. In fact, pointing to this story, just same last week, a member of the Police Service Commission from the Southeast was in the Southeast and was appealing to young men from the Southeast at a town hall meeting to come and be part of those who want to apply and join the police, because he had to tell them that so far they have found that very few people are forthcoming for the recruitment in the police. That is a big challenge, and it needs to be looked at.
In the meantime, some of them are getting themselves involved in militia.
Yes.
In militia activities. I mean, that tells you where the interest might be, and then how do you dissuade them from such activities and then get them into the formal force, as it were. The other story is the plan by the NCAA, which is the regulatory authority for civil aviation, to hike airlines operating license fees and plans major review. I'm just asking myself, because we have had conversations on issues around aviation on a number of occasions in the past. What is the rationale for increasing airline operating license fees. What is the rationale? It's are you charging them in dollars when our currency is naira? Are you saying exchange rate parity or relativity is a factor in this? You know why I'm saying this, Bayo? Some airline executives had said on Good Morning Nigeria in the past that some of the fees that they are having to pay to the regulatory authority, that those fees are responsible for their non-profitability. And sometimes the high cost of airfares, that they say that sometimes they will charge you for route development. You want to fly from, say, Nigeria, you want to fly from Lagos or Abuja to Banjul. Your aircraft has not taken off from Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport. Then you are made to pay some 10 million or 20 million for route development. I mean, what is the purpose?
They develop the route in the sky.
Good question you have asked, Bayo. You know, that's...
And the passenger pays for all...
At the end of the day, the passengers pay for it. And that's one of the instances for the high cost of aircraft. There is a word of advice too.
Airlines may sometimes cut corners to reduce their costs. And then safety becomes an issue.
Yes. There's been a word of advice from the Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, Ignatius Kegama. And he says religious leaders must resist the temptation to be bidding of influential Nigerians. He said he warned against preaching miracle and prosperity and dabbling into the idea of divine prophecy about who will win elections. He described them as dabbling into politics in the name of divine prophecy. He says such predictions are usually fruits of political calculations or pure guesswork and may not be from any supernatural or divine regulations. He said that religious leaders must concern themselves with speaking the truth to those in power and speaking without fear or favor and telling them the truth about the situation in society. He said religious leaders should be concerned with issues of moral regeneration of lives and constant people. I think now that 2023 is around the corner, you begin to see predictions about the presidents and all what have you.
Yeah, and of course, it's one of the things that we have to deal with each election cycle. But the advice by the Archbishop is something that should be taken much more seriously. Because occasionally it just tends to reduce a very serious exercise to a joke. Which shamans, diviners, and sangomas and all kinds of persons are forecasting and making predictions. And some persons also proceed to perform rituals of a dangerous dimension.
Yes, our propensity for fortune-telling is getting into the religious ambit.
So, Bayo, we will suspend, as it were, issues around the Electoral Act as reported by the Nation newspaper until we get further details and then see what clauses are there, as they are pointing out, and how problematic they might be in future. Bayo, thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. It's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll go ahead with our item for discussion.
These services that are examinations, medical examinations and investigations that were not provided for in Kano as well as the entire Northwest region. Is equipped with modern technological equipment in terms of radiological services. We have MRI 1.5 Tesla. We have digital X-ray as well as 4D ultrasound equipment. The importance of the center cannot be overemphasized. Just within 1 year, the center attended to thousands and numerous patients as well as medical examinations. NKDC is established in order also to provide these healthcare facilities as a discounted price.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Ibrahim, to the right. Mila, you go to the left. Just gotta do it.
Thank you for the rejections. That taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours that taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns that taught me to bounce back. And for the unexpected victories that taught me to never give up.
Please welcome Dr. Shixie.
Thank you for making me who I am.
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergent and bleach.
Wow!
Arise, O Nigerians! Let's applaud the courage of Flight Lieutenant Abayomi Dairo, aka the Aggressor, for his skillful and dogged escape from the bloodthirsty bandits in the forest of Zamfara State. 3 hearty cheers also to all military and security personnel who are tirelessly protecting fellow Nigerians from insurgency and banditry while maintaining peace and order. Nigerians are proud of Abayomi Dairo and all our gallant men and women in uniform for sacrificing so much to keep us safe. We admire your courage and we say thank you. God bless the armed forces. God bless Nigeria. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Candidates who are interested in gaining admission into NTA Television College JOS for the 2021-2022 2-year National Innovation Diploma Program are to apply for admission through the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM. The courses available for application include Film and Television Production, Broadcast Journalism, and Television Engineering Technology. Such candidates must have a minimum of 5 O-level credits in relevant subjects including English language and mathematics. For more information, please contact NTA Television College, JOS, or the marketing department of any NTA station nationwide. Registrar, Announcer.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and as a prompt for our conversation on ease of doing business in Nigeria, here's correspondent Joseph Osen with a background report.
Economic policies and regulations that provide conducive environment for smooth business operations form the basis for ease of doing business. The whole essence is to create an atmosphere that will attract investors to invest and boost the nation's economic growth. Using data gathered from thousands of experts respondents, the World Bank ranks 190 countries against each other, taking into consideration how easily a business can be set up in the nation. Nigeria has continued to witness improvement in the ease of doing business rating since 2016. From the 170th position, it moved one step to 169 in 2017, 145 in 2018, and then 131 in 2019. At the virtual Nigeria-British Trade and Investment Expo, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, stated that the country's ranking still stood at 131 of 170 countries in 2020. Meanwhile, Economic Global Micro Model and analysts projected the country's ease of doing business to trend around 133 in 2021 and 135 in 2022. The country's rating is traceable to pragmatic policies as the federal government demonstrates strong commitment to building a resilient economy for the country. In 2016, the President inaugurated a Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council chaired by the Vice President to make recommendations on institutional reforms to promote Nigeria's investment attractiveness. And in May 2017, 3 executive orders were issued to promote transparency and efficiency in the business environment and the public service. The National Economic Sustainability Plan, launched in 2020, is one among measures taken by the government to improve ease of doing business. In its 2022 meeting, it was reported that the project has created or retained 2.1 million jobs. Also, 250 new business names are said to have been registered free under the Survivor Fund scheme. Other measures taken to create an enabling environment for businesses to flourish include the development of infrastructure such as roads, electricity, water projects, and the recent launch of the 5G network in the country. But as the country continued to express high inflation, with many businesses struggling to break even, some economic analysts question the ability of the Nigerian economic environment to make life better for the citizens. Is Nigeria's ease of doing business ranking over the years having positive impact on the Nigerian economy? And is the country on the right track with its economic policies? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will share perspectives on the program.
Thank you very much, Joseph Olsen, for that elaborate backgrounder. Now we have guests with us in the studios and at Lagos Network Center and also via Zoom. Here in the studios, let's welcome Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Special Advisor to the President on Ease of Doing Business. Pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
It's a pleasure to be here.
A regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Ken Ukoha, who is President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. Ken, welcome once again.
Good morning, Kinsley, and good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. We also have with us William Ezeagu, who is Director of Product Development at the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. William Ezeagu, pleasure to have you this morning.
Good morning, presenters. Good morning, Nigerians.
And also joining us from our Lagos studio is Shaibu Idris, Managing Director, Timeline Consults Limited. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Jumai. Good morning, fellow discussant, and good morning, Nigerians.
Via Zoom is Ambassador Ayola Olakani, Director General, Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here.
All right, once again, pleasure to have all 5 guests with us this morning. Let's begin by having some conceptual clarification. The question is going to the Special Advisor to the President on Ease of Doing Business, considering issues that have arisen from time to time while discussing ease of doing business. Is it a question of ticking the boxes? Oh, it's easy to register a business, so we proceeded with that. Oh, it's easy to get a construction permit, we tick that. Or is it a lived experience? And if so, what has been our experience?
I think the proof of the pudding is in the private sector response. It's not been an easy task. Everybody knows that there's serious challenges that we continue to work on, and it's a journey of progressive improvement. However, we wouldn't have moved up the rankings until it was discontinued last year if private sector hadn't adjudged things to be getting progressively easier to do business. So it's not about what government says. The validation actually comes from the private sector, and that is what our mandate is.
Okay, back again to the question. What is it you're looking for in ease of doing business, and what is it that the private sector has found attractive?
Well, you know, I really can't answer for the private sector and what they found attractive. What I do know is that in 2016, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council was set up by the President and is chaired by His Excellency the Vice President. The mandate is to remove bottlenecks, bureaucratic and legislative bottlenecks across the country, and also to improve the perception of doing business. Now, we don't necessarily focus all our attention on rankings. In fact, the World Bank report has been discontinued. It was discontinued last year after 1 year of suspension because of irregularities at the World Bank end. But what we have done in Nigeria is to have an intervention that works across the country. The federal government has about 55 agencies that we track through EO1, the first executive order on transparency and efficiency of public service delivery. We also work with the National Assembly. We've passed a number of legislations, including the CAMA. We work with the judiciary, both at federal and state level. We have small claims courts in about 4 states now. We also work with state governments across the country. In fact, more importantly, we released our own baseline survey on ease of doing business across Nigeria last March, and the rankings of all states were released in June. Yeah, so I made a presentation even about that at the National Economic Council last week, because the second iteration of that report will be released. Now, the basis of that report was a survey independently conducted by a private sector global consulting firm that listened to what MSMEs are saying across the country. And we garnered a lot of empirical data from that. We also had a cost of compliance report that we piloted with Lagos and the FCT last year. We launched it in January. So these are the things that we continue to focus on, making sure that we listen to private sector and that we deliver the changes across the board, leveraging on automation, leveraging on process reengineering, leveraging on feedback, accountability, consequence management, and we continue to do that.
So if Nigeria is doing away with the World Bank ranking, what parameters are you using to measure the ease of doing business as it is now?
Well, Nigeria isn't doing away with the ranking. The ranking was discontinued globally because of irregularities concerning 4 countries at the global level.
And why is that?
Because of irregularities concerning
Why the irregularities? What causes it?
This is a World Bank internal challenge. And it was globally announced. Yeah. So that is why we don't necessarily focus on rankings. So the rankings are good. They're an external validation. But what we do is focus on what private sector, where they're feeling the pain, the issues they talk about, things like ports reforms, things like trading within Nigeria, movement of goods across the country, movement of goods across borders, registering of companies, real issues that we continue to work on. We have our report.gov.ng application. It's a portal where private sector sends in complaints or compliments. We work on airport reforms. We work on a broad range of issues. The issues are a lot. Agro-exports, for instance, have an ad hoc committee specially dedicated to them that we're working on currently. And we just continue to listen to them and address where the shoe is pinching, because we have to. They have to be able to compete. There's AFCFTA. I mean, there are infrastructure challenges that other ministers are working on, but this government has prioritized soft infrastructure for the first time under ERGP and now under the National Development Plan, because we want private sector to be able to contribute to about 86% of funding that plan. We need to make sure that the environment is conducive for them. So those are the specific pinpoints, especially for MSMEs, who contribute almost 50% of the GDP of this economy. So we're particularly focused on solving their problems. It's not easy, it's not overnight, but that is our mandate, and that is what we continue to work on.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Oduwole. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Let's go over to our Lagos Network Center. Shuaibu Idris, one of our regular guests on Good Morning Nigeria, whenever we're discussing business and financial matters. Shuaibu, let's have your opening salvo, as it were, on ease of doing business. Is the environment in general getting more conducive, or we still have those bottlenecks that hinder the performance of businesses in the country?
Kingsley, thank you once again for having me. I think the beginning of the discourse should be, what exactly are we talking about when we talk about ease of doing business? what parameters, what factors are we looking at? Fundamentally, before the World Bank discontinued that report, they were looking at about 10 items. Cost of capital, which is how much are you able to get loan, the relative ease within which you get the loans, the security situation in a particular country, infrastructure, network, the legal and regulatory framework, how are minority rights being protected, to what extent, say, intellectual property rights are being protected, how do you have access to, like Jumai said, construction permits, property rights, and a number of other items that the index used to take a look at. If you ask me, fundamentally, I will say we are on the right track. For the first time in the history of our country, we have a presidential committee that is chaired by no less a personality than the erudite scholar, Professor Oshibanjo, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we also have, a special advisor to Mr. President on this particular subject matter. I will say we are on the right track once again because we are identifying the issues and we are looking for people, or we have identified people that will help address the issues. However, it is good to know your problems, and it is good to begin to look at ways and means of resolving the issues. Madam Jumoke has alluded to the areas of intervention, but myself, as a practitioner and as a consultant that relates with quite a number of local and international businessmen and women, I will dare say that the much that government is doing has not, impacted favorably or reasonably to us that are practitioners. We need to see more, and if any, we are a little bit disappointed because Kingsley and fellow discussants, we are in a generation of technology. From the time this committee was set up, from the time we eventually have our first special advisor on ease of doing business till today, should we be where we are, given technology, given the competition Nigeria is facing with a small country like Ghana that is well ahead of us, even within the ECOWAS sub-region. If you take like 15, 16, nations in the ECOWAS sub-region, Nigeria is still battling to be number 7 or 8 of ease of doing business within ECOWAS alone. Given our size, given the talent, given the brands, given the wealth that we have, should we be battling to be number 5, 6, or 8? Shouldn't we be, in fact, number 1, and the second person should be way behind us by, say, 20, 30 marks? I believe we can do better given technology and given the God-endowed wealth that he has given to this country. I'm not being negative, but these are facts because I face this thing every now and then. There's still red tapes. There's still bureaucratic bottleneck. Taxation is still an issue. You want to get your tax clearance is near impossible, even with technology. Customs are still having, issues at the border, at the post. You may not even be able to pay your duties with relative ease. Not in today's age. Not where we have the kind of technology that mankind has developed. I think we can do better.
All right. Thank you very much, Shuaibu Idris. We will return to you later in the course of the conversation. Now, let's bring in the Director General of NASIMA, Ambassador Ayo Olukone, who was earlier introduced by my colleague, Jumai. Ambassador Olukone, let's have your take on this. Namely, one more time, whether ease of doing business is a question of ticking the boxes, or a lived experience? And if so, what will you tell us about the Nasima experience?
Well, thank you very much, Kingsley, and it's good to be here. It's good to see Dr. Oduole, who has been at the driving seat of the ease of doing business. I will briefly, let me just say that, yes, we've come a long way, but we still have a very, very long way to go. And I'm giving practical examples of of what we get from our members. One, the crisis of multiple taxation is affecting a large number of SMEs. The crisis of multiple taxation. A lot of them are struggling with it. Some of them have even gone under. Then the crisis and problem of issues of practice direction, that at the tax appeal board, when they give you a tax bill, you must pay 50% first before any other thing. That is another issue. Now, let me give a practical example of the recent issue. There was a Turkish company that are into diaper production and others, and we had a meeting on Friday recently. The company I'm talking about, I will not mention the name so that NTA will not send us the bill in terms of promoting a company. The company produces diaper, and it is based in Agbara. $120 million investment. But the crisis of infrastructure is one of the problems that is facing this particular company. They told us, and I'm talking about just Friday, that there's a 60 million additional investment which they want to put into this particular area. But the crisis of infrastructure in and around Agbara and other places is delaying the question and issues of putting this money and starting the project. And they are hinting that the possibility of cancelling is there because of the crisis of infrastructure in and around. You know it. Our chambers in Agbara or Agbara chambers, also has, of course, reached out to us that, look, please, listen, let's see what something can be done about this. I'm just giving that as a practical example as far as this issue itself is concerned, that these are key issues which must be faced. And which brings me now to the question of the issue of ease of doing business at the subnational level. I know that the federal government, of course, cannot take it all. But if we can deal with the issue and bring in the states, the question of ease of doing business at the subnational level is very, very important, so that all of us do not have to be running all the way every time to Abuja. I just thought I should give this perspective as far as the practical dimension and the reaction which I got. We recently decided to log in onto the NAM tax, the local government, the Algon, in terms of the issues of taxation which I have spoken about. And I'm sure Dr. Oduole and all others who are my colleagues who are here would know this, because Algon is a reflection of the crisis which they're facing as far as the question of ease of doing business. At that particular level, the SMEs are at the heart of it. And of course, it's very, very important that when we talk about ease of doing business, we go down to that particular level. And our chambers of commerce, which are all across the country, of course, have been raising this issue and come to us. Please help us tell them this is where the action is. This is where ease of doing business is one of the most meaningful things in terms of mobilizing SMEs to be able to effectively perform. I just thought I should concretize the abstraction by giving those practical examples we talked about. A $60 million investment, which is now waiting. And you can imagine the amount of jobs $60 million investment will provide for people in and around that area as far as the crisis and the problem I'm talking about. It was out of a meeting which we held with the Turkish team, including Turkish ambassador and some of the investors who wants to put money in that particular area. Like I said, we've come a long way, but the road is still very, very long. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's come back to the studio. Mr. William Ezeogo, last year we talked about, standardization in export, and you were here. It was a very lively conversation. A lot of factors have been outlined: infrastructure, electricity, standardization, and bureaucratic bottlenecks. How are these factors militating against ease of doing business in Nigeria, especially in the area of exports?
Thank you, Juma. Thank you, Nigerians. Export is actually dependent on a competitive economy. In other words, efficiency is very key. Production efficiency is key. National efficiency is key. And so the ease of doing business is actually more relevant. in the area of export. And more importantly, the fact that even the PEBEC also have I think 1 or 2 items on the subtotal of it, which says, trading across borders, and so it's very, very efficient, because without efficient system, the cost of production will be very, very high. And so that's why it's important that, we're looking at this. That example of the port, I think when Mr. Duole was talking about, before he mentioned the port reforms, and discovered that the cost of moving product from the hinterland to the port is sometimes not even the cost alone. Of course, somebody have talked about the multiple charges. Apart from that, you get to Lagos, to enter the Lagos port becomes an issue. So those are kind of issues that really that's affecting the export, because if export, the buyers or the what you call the importers, they are looking at, one, cost of your goods. Nigeria, you are competing with many countries to get goods to the buyer. So it's looking at the cost. We're also looking at the quality of the product. Now, if your product stays in the port, and to enter the port, it takes about maybe 2 weeks or so to enter the port, and the product gets spoiled because of the high temperature that has caused the product to get, either rancid or get mold, or if the moisture has risen far above what the customer wants. Those are issues. Okay, so, and that's actually an issue that, which I know the public also is addressing right now. And I think Mr. Duole mentioned it. And I believe that it's very, very important that the system, we get an improved system in terms of efficiencies, cost of food production. Again, that's why actually Nigerian Export Promotion Council have come up, realizing of these challenges. We set up what we call the domestic export warehouse. This domestic export warehouse is a concept whereby all the things that are supposed to be done at the port side, the fumigation of product, aggregation of product, fumigation, certification, inspection of the product, could be done at the hinterland. Whereby all these things are done, then the goods are containerized right at the port, at the hinterland where the thing is being done. Then shipped, moved to the Lagos or to any port that is taken out. But the most important is that it is going to be based on technology. And that is what the NPA is using, the ecosystem. So you don't leave your place in Maiduguri or in Kano or Sokoto or Enugu to Lagos or to Port Harcourt without being called under the protocol. And that's why we're collaborating with them. So this kind of technology, I think one of the discussion mention of the issue of technology is key. It's key, so that if we use technology, we could be able to really cut some of these things we're talking about. Because I want to say that efficiency is key. And productivity can only increase if there's efficiency. And efficiency comes where there is cost of doing business is very low. These multiple charges we're talking about, the road system, you're moving from say Kano to Lagos. How many checkpoints you have on the road that will check your port. In fact, the one you're moving from Lagos to Benin Republic, how many checkpoints you have, how many days do you wait to get those things. Technology is key. If you're moving from something, if there's a scanner in the border, if there's a scanner there, everything that goes there could go through a scanner. Just like you're entering a bank or you're entering maybe Transcorp Hotel, you go through a scan, all your things are scanned. So we don't need to be waiting vehicles, check this, open this and all that. Those are kind of challenges that we exporters are facing that actually making things difficult for them. Thank you.
William Ezago, thank you very much for your comments. Let's bring in now Dr. Ken Okoha. Dr. Okoha, how easy is it for us to do business in Nigeria today against the background of reforms and practices?
Thank you very much. Once again, good morning, Nigerians. And I think my starting point should be to commend the government for understanding the hue and cry, I put it that way, of the private sector over the years concerning the difficulty, the challenges, the obstacles, man-made majority, man-made, made by Nigerians, made in Nigeria, obstacles.
Made for Nigeria.
Made for Nigerian obstacles that we have been facing over the years. Before this administration came up, and then, saw the need to set up ease of business, doing business, council. And then you also discover that from 170 ranking, we jumped so high that we are now at 131 the latest, the last, ranking. That's commendable, quite commendable. It shows the vision of government understanding the need to relax these obstacles so that private sector can move on. But then, are we where we are supposed to be? I don't think so. I don't think so. There are 3 things among the 10 criteria set up, if you like, indicators set up by World Bank, upon which this ranking stand. And the 3 are namely, 1 is procedure. Now I'm going to talk about that. 2 is time, if you like, delays. And number 3 is cost. Now, whatever you are going to do in terms of easing business, you are going to judge or measure on this particular criteria. What are the procedures? If you talk about procedures, you are talking about legal and legislative frameworks. You're also talking about the hindrances as well. You're also talking about enforcement of those procedures. Number 2, if you are looking at time, you look at the delays or otherwise accorded to facilitation of goods and all of that. Number 3, if you are looking at cost component, how much does it really cost a businessman, a private sector operator to really implement those procedures? Now, looking at this, Kingsley, few weeks to Christmas, we were here looking at the subject matter. I think you should remember that we talked about customs as trade facilitators or revenue collectors.
Yes.
Now, these are agencies created to ease business. And in every class, the word custom organization, their objective is to facilitate business, facilitate the movement of goods and services. But then, on the other side is the issue of infrastructure. And when I look at infrastructure, I've also seen that we can take good for this administration, providing some level of infrastructure. Today we can see rails. Today we can see new airlines pumping up. But there is something I must hint here. And I'll give you 2 or 3 practical examples that will tell you where we are. And I'm so happy that the World Bank ranking just was put on hold so that it will give Nigeria some sense of inward looking to see where we are practically, not just ticking, like you said, ticking those indicators. Let's go home. And I'm happy with what, Jumoke is doing in his, in her office. Looking at the private sector, asking the private sector on practical aspects of the ease of doing business so that we can look at it together and solve these matters. 1, how easy is it to move goods from one particular state to another? Some of my colleagues have talked about the subnationals and the problems we're having. But within here in Abuja, for instance, in this Federal Capital Territory, I'm sure you have seen different uniforms of people who stop buses carrying goods and all of that on the way. 2 weeks back, just about 2 weeks back, precisely on the 13th, I was coming to work, and at Area 1 Junction, roundabout there, some of these guys area council guys stopped a bus. The driver was trying to clear, and there was a vehicle by the side. So he was trying to also avoid them. Before you know it, these guys jumped in and yanked off the side mirror. The man in question, the driver in question, was actually driving the bus, but there were no goods inside the bus. So the guy was so annoyed. In any case, he came out. Everybody, there was a fight. There was a stampede there. We all came out. This guy went in and brought his papers. Everything was complete. Where did you yank off? Anyway, this is just an example. So this is complete distraction. His business is delayed. There is a cost there added to him. He's going to repay that. Who is going to bear all of this? So these are some of the things that are practically obstructing our businesses up to this moment. And from one state to another, there are all of these people. In fact, you don't know whether they are hoodlums or hooligans or tax collectors or whatever. They are still there. Multiple taxation destructing the way. We also talked about the customs and the creation of several units. If you are going electronic, and let me comment the CAC. Today we can go in and under 48 hours sometimes you have registered a company. It was not never so. So thumbs up at that end. But can we also have other agencies emulate that structure where we can now have the customs? You are supposed to be driving your facilitation of goods electronically, and they will now reduce human interference, not creating more units, FO unit here, clearing unit here, the removal unit here, and as long as these units are there, you will still have the tendency of people paying more and more and more and more, and it trickles down to the last consumer. And that is not ease of doing business. And people will be refrained. There are many that I will talk about as we move on. And this means thank you very much.
Yes, Dr. Ken, you've raised a lot of pertinent issues concerning ease of doing business in Nigeria. Let me join Dr. Jumake. Dr. Jumake, you've listened to them. You've heard the problems. Dr. Ken said it is a Nigerian thing. It's a Nigerian problem for Nigerians. Keeping in mind the so many policies that this government since they came into office have put in place to make sure Nigerians, have ease of doing business, go into the private sector and not wait for white-collar jobs. Why are we still talking about this now?
First of all, I want to say that what Ambassador Olukoni and Mr. Idris have said, fair comment. The first thing I said was that it's really not easy and it's a progressive journey. Ken, I want to thank you for being thorough and well prepared as usual. You really got it right about the indicators and what we look at, the cost, the speed. We also look at transparency, and that's where the discussion on automation comes in. Now, homegrown, because I want to focus less on the World Bank. First of all, that's done with, but it was a good template. But we've taken it further than that. Homegrown, our homegrown baseline survey looked at security, infrastructure, access to information, work readiness. I like what you said about it being a problem inflicted on Nigerians by Nigerians. Because you could hear the frustration from actually a public servant, frustrated with his colleagues. Because if any PC is talking like this, what Mr. Ezeagu is referring to is challenges he's having with other government agencies. So what the council is doing is actually the Secretariat is a transformation office working with ministries, departments, and agencies, about 55 of them. We track them on a compliance report, EO1 compliance report. We have 3 so far, so it's been 3 years of tracking them, and we rank them. So you can look at that and see where each agency falls, instead of us looking outwards. Let's even bring it home. You will know which agencies private sector is referring to. When you're talking about automation, what does it take an exporter? NEPC is a member of the Agro-Exports ad hoc committee that the Vice President had to set up in November to look into some of these issues, specifically for perishable agro-exports that are really in pain, and came up with an escalation all the way to the presidency, which I've been coordinating that initiative, and it's also chaired by the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment. Now, we try to get government agencies to work with each other and to focus on the people issues, the process issues, and infrastructure. Of course, the hard infrastructure challenges are up to the honorable ministers, Minister of Power, Minister of Works, Minister of Digital Economy and Communication, because we need broadband, we need airports, Minister of Aviation, Minister of Transportation. These are their mandates. And I believe you've mentioned rail, you've mentioned several things going on. But when it comes to soft infrastructure, it is a journey of collaboration, institutionalization. It is a pragmatic journey of consequence management, the officers on the ground relating with Nigerian MSMEs. So decisions are taken at council level, ministerial level, heads of agency level. We are really trying to trickle it down by tracking what each ministry, department, and agency is delivering in terms of time, speed, cost. Tracking with state governments also. We talked about multiple taxation. AMAC was recently invited onto the PEBEC, the first local government, to drill it down to that level. It's not something that is, behavior is difficult to change, but we've been at it 5 years now. Sometimes it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, because the system resists change, and you get a reform. After a while, there's an attempt to revert. And these are Nigerians to Nigerians. And I was so glad you made that point. Because whether it's government, whether it's really human beings, business owners, and public and civil servants, there's also, let's just call the elephant in the room, corruption. Let's just call the elephant in the room. But corruption is a two-way street. There are people demanding and extorting. There are people paying to facilitate and even get ahead of their competitors. There are people that already know who they call to sort things out. And they cause a bottleneck for others that are not able to or willing to do that. So the system is like a logjam. It's just like being in traffic and some people are shunting. So both the giver and the taker are frustrating the system. But what I want us to do here today is focus on where we have started tracking these things. It's been 3 years of Executive Order 1 compliance reports. I can send them to all of you, and they're on our website. So you will see the agencies by name, and you will see the scores. Transparency, ports operations, efficiency, starting a business, and you'll see where they all rank. Consequence management is a big thing. We've also had a lot of commendations. There are agencies that have, in fact, NEPC is one of the agencies that have been commended. Streamlining their procedures, their service level agreements, adhering to the timelines. How many times do you adhere to your timeline? What private sector says. So we track with the Office of the Head of Service, Servicom. We look at, they submit monthly reports, which are tracked. So we try to focus on, that's why I was downplaying rankings, not because rankings are not important, but it's not really rankings that will move the needle. We don't tick boxes here. I mean, that's really not a good use of a special advisor's time. We're very, very granular. And a lot of stakeholder engagements. We were on a national tour, Lituation, before COVID. We have several stakeholder engagements. We have our report.gov.ng application where we receive complaints, and every agency on that portal has a back end working on those. So I want to appeal to Nigerians, please make reports. Don't tweet about it only, and don't vent about it and throw up your hands like this is how the system is. No, we all make the system. So it's like everybody queuing up. If everybody queues up, everything would dissipate in no time. But once you have some cars going in, both the person letting them in and the person out there trying to jump the queue, both are guilty. So we can make the system work. We can work on the system. It's not something like a snap of the fingers. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. It's a very hot seat. When people say, oh, Dr. Oduwole, you're on the driver's seat of ease of doing business, it's a very hot seat. But it takes collaboration. I want to commend like the National Assembly partnering with us. We've had the CAMA, we've had legislations, the credit bureaus, access to credits, collateral registry. These are some of the legislative interventions. We have coming up our omnibus bill, which is a business facilitation bill that scoops up a lot of irritants. That's ready to go to FEC now. It's been taken in an executive bill by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. Once it gets through FEC, it's going to the National Assembly. They've been waiting for it for about 18 months now. We've been engaging with stakeholders, Nigerian Bar Association section of business law, and a lot of law firms, over 40, from across the country. And we got feedback from people. We partnered with NESG, NASBAR, very broad collaboration. We have a lot of work to do. And it's not like, oh, government or, oh, ease of doing business. It's everybody because we're competing. AFCFTA, I know that you would. In fact, you've been restrained on going into that. You've really focused. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if we go into that, that's a whole conversation on its own. So we're just focusing on how do we move the reforms? It's by adhering to the rules, letting the system work. Both public sector, public and civil servants, and private sector business owners, let us adhere to these rules. Let us desist from corrupt practices. Let us be efficient and transparent in what we do. Let us leverage technology and not resist change. And let us deliver the economy that we know we can deliver and we should deliver. It's a new year. Let's start and do it right.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Oduwole, for the explanation that you have provided to the comments raised by the other guests. As part of the reform measures, we have discussed on Good Morning Nigeria over the years when we had the idea of the collateral registry and the reforms by CAC, as well as, of course, the enactment of the new CAMA following from what was previously in existence in 1990. Now you talk about an omnibus bill that is in the works to deal with some irritants still in the business environment. What are some of those irritants?
Oh, several irritants. So we're trying to, first of all, the Executive Order 001, we'd like to codify that. That's on transparency and efficiency. So there are 6 specific pillars, including to do with port reforms, including to do with business registration, although we were able to do most of that. Everything you've listed are CAMA, are PEBEC reforms, by the way. So other things like, so insolvency regulations, already working on that. The draft is already done. There's so many irritants across about 27 legislations that we've picked up little things that you need to tidy up. So for instance, relics from colonial era where you still need a red seal, that's been removed from legislation. Areas that need to allow for electronic transmission, working on things like that. So it's legislative reform, it's quite concrete, and you definitely will have stakeholder engagements. Once it goes to the National Assembly, there'll be public hearing. We had quite a few stakeholder engagements before we completed the bill.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Ambassador Ayo Olukone, if you're still there with us via Zoom, the more we interrogate issues around the ease of doing business and what is required to be done, more particularly the people issues, the more I think that we're probably now heading back to the pre-1975 era, because some persons would argue that after 1975, we had a downward slide in the rating and rankings of our public service. That's to say the public service got destroyed by the mass purges that occurred. And all the issues that we're talking about now, obviously, then, of course, started to arise. Otherwise, the question would be, how did we have those massive industrial estates in and around Lagos and in some other parts of the Federation? How did people go about doing their businesses? Small as the country was in terms of population size. But you raised the issue of subnationals and the challenges that members of NASIMA have with the subnational administrations. Do you get a sense that the subnational entities, that's to say the states and the local governments, are on the same page at all material times with the federal government on ease of doing business, or they just keep flying off the handle from time to time, frustrating businesses?
Thank you, Kingsley. I mean, you've raised two key and very important issues. The question of the public service and what is going on at the subnational level. Now, through our ESCO and council meetings, we go across the country. And that means we are in touch with our chambers of commerce at those places and also the respective government at that particular level. Before my own assignment as DG Nasiman, I served 35 years in the Nigerian Foreign Service. That means I was a public servant. The standard which I met and what we left is a far cry from what is happening now. And let us remember that governance and government is very, very important in terms of what we are talking about. So that means that the respective states must be up to it as far as their respective institutions in terms of development and issues. Even the most brilliant ideas from the private sector can only be meaningful in context of implementation by the public service. So that is one issue, that's one area which I think we need to look at. That while we are talking about ease of doing business at the national level, at the subnational level, it's a problematic issue on two fronts. One, the respective state, and I gave a private example of Agbara Estate and the crisis of infrastructure in that place. The people who are speaking say it took them 4 hours because of the bad road and infrastructure, as far as that is concerned. So this is key. This is very important for us in terms of what exactly we really need and what we want to do. It is very important, and that's why the question and issues of capacity development at the subnational level in terms of governance is key and very important. And of course, implementation of whatever is adopted at the national level. This is what I will have to say. And like I said, through our ESCO and council meeting, the other day we were in Benin in November for the fourth quarter council meeting. And these are some of the issues which was talking about. And when we went to go and see Fresco oil, I mean, the roads was horrendous. It was horrendous. And that is why I'm saying that this is key, this is very important as far as the question of action at the subnational level itself is concerned. Like I said, the example of what I gave is key. And when we get the report from our people say that, look, listen, why apart from the federal tax, the state tax, then we now have people on the roads who put stick on the road, who are extorting their own tax too as well. What are the state government doing as far as putting such people in check? Those are some of the key issues which I think we should address. Let us, as much as possible, to be able to have meaningful impact in terms of ease of doing business. Remember that it must be down to the grassroots. And Dr. Oduwole has spoken about the question of the AFCTA. We are key and very important. We are working to let our people understand what the AFCTA is all about, but they also come back to us that, look, for us to be able to produce in terms of improve our capacity, the various issues and crises we are facing, we must deal with it. And I think this is the private sector, of course, and through the chambers of commerce, will continue to work closely with the office of Dr. Oduwole and all of our agencies of government. We work closely with the Ministry of Industry, Mines and Development too as well, to try and scale over the crises and the problems which we have. But I've mentioned this earlier, the question and issue of the multiple taxation, the crisis and issue of practice direction. As an SME, you get a bill of about 20 million naira, and then they ask you to pay 10 million. Then say you don't pay a half of that first. Those are not working. Those are some of the things militating, and of course, standing against all the efforts in terms of ease of doing business. But like you said, the public service is also very important, and especially if you go down to the state level, you'll be shocked And I think a lot needs to be done in that particular. That's where the question of education, taking a long view of history, is key and very important to raise the generations that will make things better. And of course, for the vision for the Nigeria of our people. Chambers of Commerce is key, very important. We are private sector entities at the level. We have about 30,000 members across the country. And I think this is why, of course, we say we stand at the advantage position to be able to work and make meaning of the ease of doing business. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Ayala. As the program begins to wind down, we'll be looking at other issues when we return after this break. Don't go away.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of Nigerians' hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Ibrahim, to the right. Mila, you go to the left. Just gotta do it.
Thank you for the rejections that taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours that taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns that taught me to bounce back. And for the unexpected victories that taught me to never give up.
Please welcome Dr. Shixie.
Thank you for making me who I am.
Every Harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apples. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during Harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Since coming into office in 2015, the Buhari administration has recorded unprecedented achievements in all sectors, especially in the provision of infrastructure, which is the key to economic growth. Never in the history of this country has any other administration done so much with so little. I recall that when this administration came into the office, the price of crude oil, which provides for 80% of Nigeria's budgetary revenues and 95% of foreign exchange earning, dropped drastically, thus reducing the amount of resources available to the federal government. In spite of this, the administration has continued apace with massive infrastructure developments.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergent and bleach.
Wow!
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days you probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
All right, you are welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are here in our Abuja headquarters studios, and all our three guests are still here with us, and Ambassador Ayo Olukone via Zoom, and Shuaibu Idris with us at our Lagos Network Center. My question is going to Shuaibu Idris. Shuaibu, there's an aspect I would like you to also try to comment on regarding the role of subnationals in ease of doing business. What do you think can be done to encourage the subnational entities to recognize that ease of doing business is ultimately beneficial to not just the businesses in the environment, but to the economy of their own localities? I'm asking this question because of the experiences that you have narrated, along, of course, with Ambassador Olukone and Dr. Ken Okowa, and what we do know. Because now it appears that, for instance, local governments are more interested in pursuing IGR, and any and whichever way they can raise that IGR. Whether businesses get crushed, it's immaterial to them. They impose all kinds of levies, and the Joint Tax Board appears helpless in this circumstance. How do we incentivize subnationals to recognize the ultimate benefits in ease of doing business?
Beyond even the subnational, I need to enlarge the question. I think what Dr. Jumoke and her team are doing, from the explanation she's given, and is an excellent development, and it's an excellent process that we are engaging in. The only way that her team can succeed is when the entire component, parts of Nigeria, key into the vision and the mission of ensuring that we create an enabling environment that will make business to be nurtured and prosper. By this, I'm saying beyond the subnational, average Nigerians, we need to create some level of trust and confidence. We need to improve on our character, because generally we appear to have some level of trust deficit in our society. Quality of human capital is an issue, Kingsley. The universities, both the federal and the private universities, as well as the polytechnics, needs to ensure that they produce quality human capital that could be, accessed. Because, I used to head human resources in one of the largest conglomerates that we have in the country, and, getting human capital is near impossible. Now, to specifics, the subnational government and other, component units that I talk about. Let me share one personal experience that happened just last week. I happened to have a course to travel to Sokoto. You won't believe I had to have a late time of 5 hours. I live in Lagos, left Lagos for Sokoto. I had to spend the night in Abuja to be able to get a connecting flight to Sokoto. On coming back, I left Sokoto around 2, arrived Abuja by 3, and my flight to Lagos was 10 p.m. I mean, even with the improvement in the, in the airport facilities, if there are no improvements in connectivity, imagine the horrendous, cost implication of these trips and the delays. Again, to the specifics, when and where you have state government not being able to process simple transfer of title documents. Personally, I won't mention state for obvious reasons, but I have applied for a change of ownership of a property that I own, and in the last 3 years, the document is still been there. And the state, claims to have a geographical information system. how do you help businessmen and women to prosper? How do you complement the efforts of Dr. Jumoke and her team if state governors don't key into simple aspect of what they are expected to do? Again, just like my brother and my good friend Ambassador Ayola said, you have multiple taxations. You have local governments collecting taxes. Dr. Ken alluded to that fact, and so also Dr. Jumoke, the fact that they had to call AMAC. You have multiple agencies. As long as we do not have a bit of a clearing house where we talk to ourselves as Nigerians, and as Nigerians that key into a common vision, common goal, so that we know that we are all in one trajectory of a journey to achieve, a bit of an El Dorado, we will not be able to succeed. Government, local, states, and other agencies are, creating several bottlenecks that are impinging on even the ability of the public to succeed. So we are, like she said, you make 5 steps forward, 3 steps backward. So technically, what have you achieved? Just 2 steps. So I believe, because of the nature of the democracy that we are having, presidential system of government, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is not a supervising officer of the governors. Ordinarily, the state governors are not expected to even be supervising officers of the local government. But yet, because we are Nigerians, because this system is for all of us, there is need to have a bit of a clearing house such that, agencies such as the public can succeed and be able to to deliver the goods and services for which they were created. Like Ken said, we had discussion here. I happen to be one of those that discussed the issue of customs. Why will customs be looking at just my target is to raise 4 trillion naira revenue? Is the goal of establishing custom agency, is it to just generate revenue or to ensure that businesses thrive? Why wouldn't there be another goal to state clearly that in addition to generating, say, 4 trillion or 5 trillion naira revenue, what other advantages or what other support has the custom been able to give to, say, importers who are importing raw materials that are going to be processed locally and by so doing generate employment? Or what assistance are they given to, say, the people like Ezeagu said, Export Promotion Council? What assistance are they given to ensure that agri-produce like sesame seed, cocoa, and other produce are expeditiously exported so that we earn the much needed revenues? I think these are issues that we should always look at and have a clearinghouse beyond what Dr. Jumoke in Abuja and her team are having. So we need to expand that clearinghouse to involve the subnational and maybe other agencies that may have some roles to play.
Thank you, Shaibu Idris. Let's come back to the studio. Dr. Jumoke has said we need to adhere to rules, leverage on technology, and not resist change. I'm going to throw this question at you. How would you rate Nigeria's corporate governance framework, in the business environment and making it easy for business people to do their business the way it should be?
2 things come very clearly. 1, access to justice in this regard. You see, in the business world, commercial disputes are inevitable. And this is one particular angle to ease of doing business. Businesses are frustrated because litigations, in fact, settlement of disputes are there for years unsettled. They remain in court unsettled. They remain in the hands of police unsettled. In fact, sometimes issues that should have been settled amicably through arbitration or even issues that ought to have been settled that, are not criminal in nature, are criminalized by the police. And therefore, the tendency for people to get justice is not there. So the private sector, the businessman, has serious obstacle, impediment, and this is a disincentive, a disattraction to business. So when we're talking about governance, we look at it from that angle, that template. The temple of justice, has it really helped business? And in fact, that's one of the things that I would also want to place on the table. The table that Dr. Jumoke's work would also need to look at. I know they are looking at that end. However, another angle to it is the issue of sanction mechanism. Agencies are being commended, yes, which is very good. Commendation is another way of motivating agencies or people to work. But are we going to see agencies that are going to be sanctioned? Where are the chief executives representing these agencies? Let me give you an instance.
Where is the board of directors?
Where are these boards? God bless you. And you talk about boards who meet every time, and most times it looks as if to the ordinary man like us on the street, it looks as if
it's a tea party.
They are just having a tea party and sharing some money and going back buying vehicles to themselves. So what are they doing to drive agencies to do the work in practical terms that will bring success to the economy? Now, I was trying to look at the subject of sanction. Look at what happened at the airports recently. The PEBEC was, I think responsible for that. Where you have professional beggars, at the airports. People turn into professional begging at the airports. Immigration officers, people who are cleaning toilets and everything. Everybody becoming a beggar. And then I think they came to that point. If you go to the airports now, people are restrained. That's what. Can we also have? I also learned that some airlines, I don't want to mention, were sanctioned. And that brought some kind of sanity in the system. But looking at that same airline, that same sector, today flights are being delayed and delayed and delayed. Sometimes you stay 4 hours at the airport waiting for your flight.
Due to operational
reason. Who is this operational reason? What is this operational reason?
With no apology.
No, I mean, even if why are you apologizing when you have already crashed? I have about 3 tickets now. I was flying to Owerri, and my flight was to 2 o'clock. Suddenly, by 11 o'clock, I got a text message that my flight has been cancelled. In fact, I still have that ticket up to now. Nobody has told me. Nobody has sent me another message to say, this is when you are flying. In fact, they should have even contacted me to say, when do you want to fly? I have no message again from that November to this moment. How do we operate this way? Now, come to the issue of banks. One of the criteria for ease of business ranking by the World Bank is access to credit. Apart from what the central bank has done, and that's why many people are now looking at central bank as a donor. We shouldn't be.
Or a retail banker.
A retail banker. We shouldn't be. But then, how easy is it to access funds, credit from the banks? What is the interest rate? We are still talking about this thing for how many years? The central bank is battling with exchange rate volatility and all of that, and is still battling again in-house with interest rates that should have really propelled the economy. When you give interest, when you give loan credits to the private sector, it in turn revitalizes the economy.
That's right.
It puts some funds in the hands of consumers.
And the whole idea of the collateral registry was to also
that's the point I'm going to.
The creditors
exactly.
in ascertaining the worthiness of potential borrowers from their system. Yeah, okay. Dr. Kenoko, I will pause you because we're getting pressed for time. I want to bring in...
and that's why I told you that this thing is going to have part 2. Very important. There are a lot of things that we need to do.
The discretion.
Listen, the agenda.
That will be the discretion of the
producer is listening to you.
That's right. Thank you. William Ezago, one of the key issues that I would like you to touch on, it's key, but in paraphrase, what would you like to see in terms of easing the friction, as it were, amongst MDAs, that's to say ministries, departments, and agencies, a number of which, of course, try to operate in silos. You are doing your own, some other person else is frustrating it. Is it a power tussle or just lack of understanding of what synergy might bring in terms of advantages?
Thank you very much. At this point, I want to also commend the work of PEBEC. Because they have done so much. When they started around some years, 5 years back, they did a lot of work bringing all the agencies together. And through that, a lot of things came up, actually. I want to, at this point, because I was part of it, and I know that we achieve a lot, despite the challenges that are persisting. But that, again, if you look at it, like Dr. Jumoke said, there is this ranking they do. This ranking, actually, it helps people to pick up. Every month, you must send your report to PEBEC. And based on those reports, they use parameters which they to judge, and they categorize it in terms of maybe construction, and doing business, and the trade across the borders. I want to say that helps us a lot because we also came together. They do some, they bring us together. That's the agencies. Sometimes in Lagos, some in Kano, trying to for one subject matter to other. That's it's very helpful because that will give you everybody. Because, for example, we may be on the subject of export. NIPC is involved, NEPC is involved, Custom is involved, SON, NAFDAC, NAQS. So a lot of challenges. So this bringing together helps to really streamline operations. But more importantly, the fact that there's also more need, to get infrastructure in place through deployment of technology, through the interagency cooperation. Let me give you an example. When there's issue of rejection, NEPC brought the 21 agencies together, trying to set up what causes this rejection. Rejection, a lot of things, right from farm gate to production, the market, from market to the ports to all the agencies are involved. And that's what we did. And able to that, based on the success of that meeting, the office of the vice president took it up and made it to be the inter-ministerial, where the Honorable Minister of Agriculture was meant to be the chairman. So a lot of that again help us to do a lot of things. But like you said, there's a need for more cooperation. Again, I want to commend the PEBEC because there's presently the vice president, or through the office of the vice president, they're also doing. They are coming together into the agro committee, which again all the stakeholders are coming together to streamline things and see how we can get things work. So I think it's very important, and it's also key to getting things work the perfect order.
Thank you, Mr. William. Time is really going. Dr. Jumoke, before we go, you said 3 steps forward, 2 steps backwards, and time is of essence here. Where do you see this before this present administration bows out?
Yes,
what do you aim to achieve?
It's really one of sustainability. So business climate reforms really need institutionalization. So we work a lot with 55 MDAs, like I've said, because it's the public and civil servants that are the custodians of the system. So that's our primary internal effort. I also want to say that we've been collaborating with state governments since 2017. The NEC approved the replication of the PEBEC structure. So every state government has a state reform champion, has an ease of doing business council, sometimes chaired by the governor, like Nasarawa, sometimes the deputy governor, sometimes the head of service. And so they're working on their own reforms. I'd like you to have a look at the baseline survey on Nigeria, on all 36 states and the FCT that we released last March, and also our compliance reports, the EO1 reports that track the monthly reports. That's on transparency and efficiency with a very thorough methodology framework. So you know really where MDAs are and what they're saying. But the most important thing is institutionalization to really entrench both at federal, state, and local government, and also through the judiciary and the National Assembly, the concept of continuously improving the business climate. Also, collaboration with private sector listening, implementing, tracking, and really making sure that it's where the shoe is pinching that we're addressing systemically and thoroughly. And the last thing is that it's a journey of continuous improvement. So you can't even take your foot off the pedal, none of us. So private sector should keep putting that pressure on government, and government should also keep putting that pressure on ourselves and on private sector so the system works.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Special Advisor to the President on the Ease of Doing Business. A pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Dr. Ken Okoha, President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. A delight for you and having you again on Good Morning Nigeria. William Ezagu, Director, Product Development, Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you.
Shuaibu Idris, MNI, Managing Director, Timeline Consult. Pleasure having you from our Lagos Network Center. And Ambassador Ayo Olukoni, one-time Nigerian High Commissioner to Australia and current DG of NASIMA. Thank you very much for being our guest on Good Morning Nigeria. All right, so let's go over now to our sports desk.
Egypt needed an extra time goal, courtesy of Mahmoud Trezeguet Hassan, to silence Morocco in the North